Our next couple of speakers, finally, we're talking about 13.3. We didn't forget about it. And I want to welcome our next speaker, Andrea De Leon, who's going to be talking about greening a city, implementing and engaging in an equitable organic waste recycling marketing campaign. Andrea is, oh my God, brand new, Interim Waste Reduction Deputy Director, Division Deputy Director at the City of San Diego Environmental Services Department. Such a mouthful. She oversees San Diego's collection services for residential customers and led the implementation of 1383 residential organics waste recycling collection and citywide marketing campaign. Andrea has been in the zero waste industry for 14 years. How has it been 14 years? And previously worked at San Francisco Environment Department and Cascadia Consulting. Welcome, Andrea.
Thanks so much for that kind introduction. And I'm so happy and my heart is so full being able to come back to the Bay Area because I see a lot of familiar faces, but even more exciting, I've heard from other speakers say it also as well, but a lot of new faces. And so hi to those who are online as well. Don't want to forget you guys as well. But I know that there's a lot of great work happening here in Northern California, but wanted to share what's going on in SoCal. And San Diego has had an organic waste recycling program, but it hasn't been as robust as it would have liked to have been, but because of things started to open up very quickly after the pandemic, and of course, obviously being in compliance with 1383, I'm excited to be able to share with you maybe a lot of things that's already validating of best practices that you are doing in your own programs, or hopefully this will spark some inspiration and helpful reminders about how to include the community and be really intentional when you're rolling out information to the public who may or may not necessarily be excited right away, but will be after you maybe learn some best practice from this presentation. So with that, just some reminders of what's going on down south. When we talk about the city of San Diego, it's a large city, right? We've got more than 1.4 million residents, right? We're right next to the border where California meets Mexico, but we're the 8th largest city in the country and the 2nd largest city in California. And so Julie mentioned in my bio that the city of San Diego also provides the collection services directly for the majority of single-family homes and also some multifamily. And that's a reflection of about 285,000 households. And so in the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about the operations, but again, the focus of my conversation with you is going to be mostly focused on the education outreach. And so, with a lot of people, that also reflects a huge diverse city, right? The majority of our residents speak English, but 39% may speak another language other than English. Most commonly, it's Spanish because of our proximity, of course, to Mexico, but also Tagalog and Vietnamese. And it's also reflecting the demographics, as you can see on the screen here, of the types of residents who also live in San Diego. We also have many, 27% of our population are also foreign-born as well. And I bring that up because there's also a culture of building relationships with government, right? And for some, if they're new residents of San Diego, they may have some distrust with government depending on where they came from before. So we were very recognized of that possible relationship and how we approach information that we were sharing with them. And so when I talk about our rollout, we were distributing green bin containers to households that didn't already have it. We had some customers who were at different levels. Some were only doing yard waste recycling, some were starting to add food waste, but none of them were doing it weekly collection. So we had the task of last year of starting everything to weekly organics collection. But not only were we working on the operations, but we were also being really intentional of how we were sharing information. And so we are very lucky that we had a department of race and equity in San Diego and also our sustainability department who gave us climate equity index information that allowed us to look at first what neighborhoods had the most and highest needs of resources. And we wanted to focus on those communities first with not only our operations of collection, but also receiving information first, which I'll talk a little bit more. And that also allows us to be really intentional so that if there were customer service issues or if there were things that we needed to fix, we were able to do it geographically in San Diego. And so the majority of our residents, when we were distributing information overall, had a positive response. We were very excited. And what led to those responses of the positive reaction is what you're seeing here. So we launched a citywide marketing campaign between January to about end of August or so. And we were focusing on information, which I know many of the communities in Northern California are already doing, but again, San Diego's playing some catch up. But we're informing folks about, hey, there's a green bin coming, here's what goes in it, here's some information about what you can and can't go in it, and here's how to reach us if you need more. But also, again, we were being really intentional in ensuring that not only we're in compliance with SB 1383, with language requirements, but we wanted to be, every outreach material that went out was always in English, Spanish, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. And we were also not just reaching residents, but we were also talking to business customers as well. And so what this looked like was a paid marketing campaign. That was one component of it. So it looked like everything from billboards to radio ads to commercials on streaming online services to social media ads. We also found a lot of success in grocery carts because everyone at some point has to go to the grocery store and may likely see or pick up a cart at some point. So lots of different methods, as you can see on the screen here, and here's some visual examples. So we really wanted to make sure that branding looked and feel cohesive. We also use real San Diegans in our photos, and we also really intentional about what we're showing. I'll show some other examples shortly here. We also found other creative ways besides just online, but how to get ourselves in the community. We were in community parades, walking with our trucks and sharing the message about green bin is good. We had tabling events. We also have collection trucks that have side panels, and so these boards on the panels essentially served as a moving billboard. And we always made sure that one side was in English and another side of it was in another language other than English on the other side of the truck. We also developed a lot of materials in different languages on our videos, and also we had a new website that we developed that also helped manage and measure the foot traffic or visual traffic that was visiting our website. Here's some numbers here on the screen about some of the results. I won't go into a lot of detail, but having ourselves in the community as much as possible was really key and fundamental for us. Also, so in the last part here, managing what you can measure was also really important. So we also had focus groups, stakeholder interviews, and also phone interviews, which were primarily in English, Spanish, and then the phone interviews were all in 4 different languages. We also recognized, though, that even though digital was a very popular platform, or seeing, transit ads was also popular, we still had to rely a lot on mailers because not everyone necessarily has a smartphone. And so every time we mailed something, again, it was in different languages. And also we used a lot of visuals and examples of the behavior that we wanted to see from residents when participating in the program. Here's another example of some of our outreach materials in different languages. And so you're like, Andrea, okay, I'm pumped up. I'm seeing a lot of cool visuals. What did you learn that maybe might be helpful for the programs I'm developing? And so, I mentioned about equity. And so if your city or jurisdiction, or if there's a community-based organization that does have demographic information, and you're trying to figure out, who to reach first, I highly encourage you to use that data. It's a great resource to help you figure out where to get started, and again, also how to manage and measure expectations with the community, because sometimes we can't always get to everybody right away, right? So if we are going to reach somebody first, we want to be really intentional about how we do that. And again, I mentioned digital equity. We saw that a lot during the pandemic, where some folks, say, hey, they're given a QR code and they're like, I don't even have a smartphone at this point, right? Or like, don't have internet easily available. So we still relied a lot on printed materials. We also made all of our printed materials available at all the public libraries and rec centers as well. So if someone did want to pick it up, they could do that as well. I mentioned some of that paid media, and I wanted to share with you some of the results of that, impressions of where we spent our money and where we got the kind of biggest bang for our buck. We had the most impressions we found actually from our billboards and transit shelter, we call it transit shelter, like bus stop ads. Because unfortunately in San Diego, we still do a lot of driving, unfortunately. We don't have as much public transportation as readily available as in the Bay Area. So a lot of folks are sometimes in their cars. And so seeing our really eye-catching billboards got a lot of impressions, but something for you that we're considering continuously going forward. So if we are spending money, we're trying to figure out where can we have the most impressions and results from that paid media. Something that we also found really interesting was our radio and TV ads. In San Diego, we have an open franchise system in which we don't necessarily, for the commercial and multifamily, have just one single hauler. And so when we talked also to our haulers about how we're going to launch the campaign and all those different paid media things that you just saw on the screen, they actually asked us, hey, can you hold off on doing the radio and TV a little bit later? We're still in progress of rolling out containers. Can you have us launched a little bit later in the year so that when folks hear the ads or commercials, they're going to actually have the container at home. But I also bring that up too because I mentioned about language. And Spanish is most commonly spoken again in San Diego. A lot of folks also do listen to radio ads and look at commercials. And so the benefit of also doing this advertising a little bit later is that other neighboring jurisdictions, whether it's Chula Vista or places up in Temecula, we're also having their containers rolled out too, and we're benefiting from our advertising. And I know we're getting close to time. I want to mention too about collaboration. What we also found really helpful is that just like in English, where we're trying to figure out the words of nomenclature of bin, are we using composting or organic waste recycling, even in Spanish too. My staff and other nearby cities said we need a nomenclature guide, and so other jurisdictions got together and also said, hey, we're going to come into some common terms so that if we are using outreach materials, we're going to use kind of similar Spanish terminology as well, and that's something that we found really helpful in the San Diego region. And again, using images that are bright and engaging and are culturally relevant. We did a waste characterization study. We found a lot of cereal and tortilla chips in the trash. And so we even made sure we reflected that in our materials as well. Last, I know we're out of time. Do I have a few more minutes? 1 minute, okay. I mentioned a lot about focus groups. I want to also get to we talked to our Spanish-speaking focus group. I mentioned about that trust, right? And trust is based on a lot of communication. And what I found really interesting from the focus groups with Spanish-speaking residents is that they really were interested but wanted to know more of the why, right? So again, every region is going to be a little bit different, but this is again what we found in San Diego. And a lot of the residents said, hey, they wanted to know more from government about why are we doing this, why is this important, and what's the purpose? And so something to consider again if you want to over-explain for maybe some other waste reduction and recycling related programs for your area. And with that, my contact information is here. There's also our website. I also want to do a shameless plug that our program in San Diego is expanding greatly. We are looking to hire more folks as well. So if you want to move to sunny San Diego, there's going to be more positions being posted soon. Please see me afterwards. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share here.
Thank you, moderator. Okay. Thank you. Andrea's great. Work for her. Okay, questions. Where are my mic people? I have some questions down here. How about Maria? Yeah.
Hi, I was curious to know, with your business outreach, was there something that worked better for business, that you did different to reach, like multicultural businesses as opposed to residential customers?
Yes, from our business focus groups, and also we have technical assistance that we offer businesses. A lot of them mentioned to us they wanted videos so that they can even text it. If it's on YouTube, the managers were even texting the training videos through text messages, or WhatsApp was very common with employees, especially in restaurants or back of house or custodial service. So they really enjoyed the videos that we provided them, and we were sharing that. Because that's like sometimes they only have maybe not, it's also hard to get everybody together from the same shift. So being able to text that or email that out to their employees was a really helpful tool for the business community. And especially also if maybe English is not their first language, demonstrating again the behavior and seeing a video of somebody sorting things and seeing what goes into the container was also very helpful for businesses. Hi, Larry.
Hi there. Since you mentioned an open franchise with possibly different processing and different compost facilities, did you have to make a lot of compromises with the messaging around what organics are acceptable?
Yeah, good question. Luckily, well, San Diego actually manages directly our composting facility, and the majority of the material is going to Miramar Greenery. There's a nearby facility in Chula Vista, Otay. Our facilities are very comparable in technology, so luckily most of the materials are still the same. We do not accept compostable plastics in San Diego. So that was one item. Because luckily, actually, a lot of the best practices we were hearing from up here in other cities, we knew that it was going to be problematic possibly from the beginning. We also have much drier climates in San Diego, so the processing isn't necessarily always consistent with the compostable plastic breaking down. But otherwise, pretty comparable across all the haulers. Yeah, good question.
Online.
Hi, this message is from Brittany. What kind of technical assistance or training has worked best for businesses?
Yeah, I think similar to maybe the question before, the videos helped tremendously. One-pagers of we have a what goes where guide on our website as well. That's in English and Spanish, and again, heavily on images. Images, colorful, and things that are also, again, culturally relevant. We were intentional even shooting, the types of vegetables we showed were things that were being regionally eaten or cooked in San Diego also.
I think we have time for one last question, quick question. I see someone back there, Mama. Who has a, oh, yeah.
Hi, wondering about your nomenclature guide. I think it's brilliant. Is it available or is it something internal?
Oh, good question. We have, I think it's been more regionally shared within our TAC groups in the San Diego County region. I'd be more than happy to share that even with this NCRA group. If there's a Spanish working group, I'd highly encourage you to consider that, possibly if it doesn't already exist in this region. But yes, I'm more than happy to share that. And again, keep in mind, within even, of course, Spanish, think of your populations. Spanish in Mexico may be very different from another region in South America. So, consider, again, your population of who you're reaching. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, good job. Thank you, Andrea. All right.